Ever had your landlord threaten you with court and end up paying you double instead? When I first moved into that apartment, it was me, my friend, and my younger sister. Things started out fine. We split the rent, decorated the place, and thought we'd have a peaceful year. But after a few months, everything went downhill. My sister brought a dog into the apartment without permission, which ended up causing a few minor damages. I immediately took pictures and sent them to our landlord, who I'll call Greg. Greg brushed me off completely. His exact words were, "Handle it yourself." So, I did. Once my sister moved out, the situation was over, and I figured that was the end of it. A few weeks later, my roommate asked Greg for a copy of our lease so her uncle could take a look at it. That was apparently the worst mistake she could have made. Greg suddenly got defensive about the lease and, out of nowhere, sent us a notice to quit, saying we had to move out by a certain date. We didn't fight it. We packed everything, scrubbed every corner of that apartment, and left it spotless. My roommate stayed until midnight cleaning, and I personally checked every room before locking up for the last time. We handed Greg the keys and moved into another unit across the street. 2 weeks passed. No message, no mail, no security deposit. In my state, the law is very clear. The landlord must return the security deposit or send a written itemized statement within 14 days. If they don't, the tenant automatically gets the full deposit back. If the withholding is deliberate, the tenant gets double. So on day 16, I mailed Greg a formal letter quoting the exact law and giving him our new address. I kept the receipt and tracking information, just in case. The next morning, I saw Greg running across the street and rushing into our old unit for the first time since we'd left. Not even 2 hours later, he texted me saying he'd return what's left of our deposit if he could rent out the apartment by the 1st of the month. I reminded him that he had already missed the deadline and that legally he had forfeited the entire deposit. He didn't like that. His reply was short: "See you in court." Then another message: "This will be fun." Weeks went by. No refund. No lawsuit from him either. So, my friend and I decided to make good on his promise. We filed a small claims case against him. Since I had handled all communication with Greg, I was listed as the plaintiff. On the day of the hearing, Greg showed up with a printed letter that he claimed was mailed to us earlier. The date on it just happened to be the same day he texted me about possibly returning part of the deposit. He said it listed what the money was used for: cleaning, repainting, and random repairs that we knew were already there when we moved in. When it was my turn to speak, I handed over copies of our texts and my certified letter. I pointed out that if his so-called itemized list was truly mailed before the 14-day deadline, he wouldn't have texted me after that saying he might return part of the deposit. The judge nodded. Greg started throwing around accusations, saying we'd trashed the place and were horrible tenants. He even tried to blame us for pre-existing damages that were clearly visible in the move-in photos. None of it stuck. The judge ruled in my favor and declared the withholding willful. I was awarded double the original security deposit. I figured that was the end of it until about a month later. A few days before his payment deadline, I got another text from Greg, just letting you know the decision's been appealed. I ignored it. At the appeal hearing, he tried the same tactics: insults, false claims, and the same fake paperwork. The judge didn't waste much time. She reviewed the original ruling, asked a few questions, and upheld the previous decision. Greg looked furious, but there was nothing he could do. A few weeks later, I opened my mailbox and found a check from him. It was for the full amount, double the deposit, just as the court ordered, but he couldn't resist a parting shot. On the memo line of the check, he'd written, "For gaining £20. I laughed, cashed it the same day, and used my share to buy a new gaming laptop. That check might have been the pettiest thing he ever did, but honestly, I didn't care. The money cleared, and I got exactly what I was owed, twice over.